Good morning, beloved. It's me, Jill, your cash flow for assets retirement realtor. This is Leaving a Legacy Part 1. Happy New Year, and I'm excited to be among the living in 2018. We're living in excited times. I have another year to work toward leaving my legacy, and I'm excited. It has taken me weeks to get this video series together and really focus on what it means to leave a legacy for my family. I'm hoping that you will take this journey with me and will walk away with some ideas about how you want to leave a legacy for your family too. Okay, let's open this up here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at what it is means to leave a legacy, or the definition of leaving the definition of legacy, not of leaving a legacy, but of a legacy. It is a gift by will, especially of money or other personal property. That's one definition. So to leave money or other personal property. Example, she left us a legacy of $1 million. Oh my, wouldn't that be nice? Okay, something transmitted by or received from an ancestor or predecessor from the past. The legacy of the ancient philosophers. The example is the war left a legacy of pain and suffering. So that's something, we have something that's tangible and we have something that's intangible. And today we're going to be looking at both. Okay, so over the next few weeks, I'm going to be talking about the 9 principles of leaving a legacy left to us by Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn is this young man right here. He was an American entrepreneur, author, and motivational speaker. Jim Rohn shared his message with more than 6,000 audiences and over 5 million people all over the world. He received numerous industry awards, including the coveted National Speakers CPAE Award and the Master of Influence Award. Jim's philosophies and influence continue to have a worldwide impact. Some of his mentees was Mark R. Hughes, the founder of Herbalife. He's the founder and visionary of Herbalife. Tony Robbins, one of my favorites, one of my mentors that I actually follow. And then Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield. Jack Canfield, those are the 2 co-authors of Chicken Soup for the Soul. And then we have Brian Tracy, author and motivational speaker. And let me just say this, when I went to go look up leaving a legacy, the only people's information that came up was Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn, as far as what I have seen and I have researched, is a man who has left the principles of leaving a legacy. I have not found any books written on leaving a legacy. I've read and I've ordered a lot of other books on the tangibles of leaving a legacy, but nobody actually reading and speaking about actually how to leave a legacy. Okay, so live a legacy principle number 1 is life is best lived in service to other people. And I'm going to read that again. Principle number 1 is life is best lived in service to others. Jim Rohn focuses on the principles not just obtained on how to obtain wealth, but these are principles that are lived by the wealthy. So when we live our life in service to others, this doesn't mean that we have to strive. We do not get to strive for ourselves and live for the best thing for ourselves. It means that in all things, we serve other people, including our family, our co-workers, and our friends. So we're not just always looking out for our best interest. What's in it for me? The I got me, I got mine, you get yours syndrome. Okay, so that's what I liked about it. So I have 2 examples of people that left me some principles on how to leave a legacy. And the first one is my mother, and I do apologize. The screen is blurry, but this was the best picture I could get of all 3 of us together. It's a picture that's left to my legacy. And I'll be leaving for my legacy for my grandchildren and my children. Okay, so the first one is my mother. My mother, Helen Louise White, was born in St. Louis, Missouri on April 25th, 1934. She lost her mother at an early age, at the age of 9, so I never knew my grandmother. Her and her 3 siblings were split up and sent to my great uncles and my great aunts. My mother moved to California with one of my sisters and brothers after a violent divorce. My middle sister was left behind to live with her father. So what I remember most about my mother is that from the time I was a little girl, she was a certified nurse's assistant. She loved her patients and enjoyed working with them. When I got older, I asked her why she never became an RN or an administrator because she was so knowledgeable about her field. And she replied that she loved the hands on with patients. And sometimes when you move into higher positions, it becomes more about the hospital politics and less about the patients. My mother worked for a convalescent hospital until she became ill and diagnosed with fourth stage cancer at age 68 when she passed. So my mother just believed in the hands on of the patients. She lived for other people. And that was the legacy that she left with me. Okay, the second example is my father. My father, James White, was born in South Carolina on May 20th, 1930. He had three sisters and two brothers, one of which was his identical twin brother. My father and his siblings were born during the time when the KKK were prevalent and racism was displayed openly. My father saw his friends hung in the streets from telephone poles. The South was a terrifying place for the young black men during those times. My dad joined the army at age 16 and was shipped to Germany, and he never looked back. My father never went back home after he left during those times. Um, and when I took my dad back to South Carolina, he hadn't seen his family in over 50 years. I don't know how he did it, but it was over 50 years. And so it was a lot of crying. There was a lot of joy and a lot of excitement when I brought my family back together. That's also part of my legacy was that I was the one who got to be able to do that. Okay. My dad's work legacy started at age 50 when he went back to work for Temple Sinai when he went to work for Temple Sinai as a janitor for a Jewish synagogue. Everyone loved my dad, especially the kids. But my dad had a drinking problem. His boss told him one day and made it very clear that he had to deal with his drinking problem or he would be fired from his job. Amazingly, my dad did. You cannot tell me that my dad would stop drinking for anyone, but my dad loved this job. I couldn't get my dad to stop drinking. My mother couldn't get my dad to stop drinking. But when that job told him, he did, and he never looked back. The temple appreciated all the work that my dad did, all the bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs that he attended and set up for. He celebrated the youth, and he always knew whose day it was to celebrate. And he danced with them, and he celebrated with them, and he loved those kids, and he loved on those families on those days, and that was really exciting to see that. Some days we got to work in the kitchen, and we got paid to come and help him set up, and also watch him enjoy these days, and just kind of that goes back to the legacy he left was being able to watch his work ethic and to watch how much passion he had for his job and how those people actually loved him. As a way to celebrate my dad's work on the job and his work ethic, and I think another thing because they saw him stop drinking and smoking, they named the kitchen after him and they named it Jim's Kitchen, and they put a big picture over the kitchen to let people know that that was a legacy. He left the legacy. My God, when I just think about it, I get chills of how he left the legacy. His picture is hanging at Temple Sinai on Webster Street, 1919 Webster Street. It is hanging on 2800 Webster Street. It is hanging in their kitchen. There is a big picture of my dad in his white suit, and it's just awesome. So that's one thing I got. Like I said, I just look at how my dad left a legacy, and he left that for me. He left that for me and my sons to see. So it's true. A lesson. It was a true lesson on how to leave a legacy on both sides. And so I did mention that my dad was a janitor, right? I think I did. Okay. So anybody can leave a legacy. That's my point. Anybody can leave a legacy on any job. It's not just the wealthy. Anybody can leave a legacy. Now let's take a look at some tangibles and intangible things that my parent left as a part of their legacy. Okay. So my mother left as a part of her intangible legacies a solid marriage to my father. They were married over 30 something years. She was a caretaker. She was a giver. She loved people. She had an impeccable work ethic, but she had some negative intangibles. She was in credit card debt. She was a gambler, and she smoked. She was an enabler, and then she passed at age 68 due to lung cancer. She had lung cancer, fourth stage lung cancer. Some of the tangibles that she left a living will and trust. She left life insurance. She left jewelry, and she left clothing. Now, my dad left 20 years of sobriety and smoke free, impeccable work ethic. He loved his job. He survived two different types of cancers. He survived the bladder cancer, and I'm not sure, I don't remember what the other cancer was, but I know he survived two cancers. He was a war veteran. He worked until he was 81 years old. And I believe that's because my father was raised in the South and they ate a lot of fish and they just had this diet that was completely from the ocean, and it was just a totally different diet than what my mother was raised on. And also, I believe because he quit smoking at age 50, that added to his life. That added years to his life. And then he passed at 84 years old. And so he had, there was equity in the house, pension plan, mutual funds, insurance policies, and a house, and this thing is in my way, and bank accounts. Okay. So my mother started this with my father and for my father. She knew that there was equity in the house, so she left the house. She wanted the house, and she told my dad, my mother and them purchased their house. She was on welfare, and they purchased this house, and they never moved. And so this house stayed in our legacy, and it was passed on to me. That after my dad died, then it was passed down to me. But my mother was the one who actually started that, so she gets the tangible actually for the house, for starting up with the house. Okay, and next we will be sharing my story. And as I'm reading, I'd like for you to think about my legacy challenges. Think about how you are serving others, and think about why you are serving others, and how you are leaving a legacy for your family. Okay, so let's take a look at my story and see how I compare to my parents. Okay, when I think about how I've lived my life in service to others, I think about the churches that I've been a member of, and how I was always drawn to the outreach ministry, which is helping other people and getting them to join the church. That kind of was passed on from my parents to me. People told me that I had a call on my life and I had an anointing for helping other people and preaching the gospel. I've had many life challenges of my own growing up, and I believe that is why I was drawn to help the less fortunate and helping the hurting individuals. Even today, I find that calling is still there, and I won't be released from my higher calling or doing what is my highest good. It is in my heart. Okay, so that is a story though for another topic as to how I live my goals and how I live my dreams. So tangibles that was left for me from my parents. I'm gonna go back here. I'm going to speed up and go all the way back to the beginning, so we can look at how my comparables, how my tangibles and intangibles compare to my parents. And I actually had done a sheet for this. Okay, so intangibles for me: sobriety and smoke free, impeccable work ethic. I love my job at PG&E. I'm a business owner. I'm a reservist. I served my country. I've been working since I was age 16. One of my intangibles is I've moved from being religious to spiritual living. My learning strategies for investing in real estate and other investments with my oldest son is causing me to move to another level and understand another deeper sense of how to leave a legacy. I have little credit card debt. I'm watching my budget closely daily. negatives, I have addictive personality, mental health issues, and some of my tangibles are I'm on track to purchase my houses out of state. I need 14 doors for retirement and to leave my grandkids. I don't have a pension plan. I have an insurance policy with living benefits and retirement locked in. I have bank accounts, and then I'm doing videos, and this video is one of my tangibles that I'm leaving for my grandkids. I do videos, and then I have pictures. So again, I wanted to leave the legacy challenge. I want you to think about how you're serving others, your job, your church, outreach. Are you a caretaker, a volunteer? Do you serve happily, joyfully, resentfully, forced, feeling forced to, etc.? Then think about why are you serving others? Do you have an unclear motive? Is it money? You're a healer. You're called. You're prestigious. You want prestige, or you're a people pleaser, or build followers to set, or you building followers, or to just set an example for your family. All right, now I have a call to action. I'd love for you to share this. If you've gotten something out of this video, I'd love for you to share this video with your Facebook tribe. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Facebook and my Realtor community page. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Subscribe to my blog post and email list. And then listen to the next video that will be coming forward. Thank you so much for listening, and you have a blessed day.